Hello again, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the M3D Prints of the Week. These are just a few of the things that I've been printing on my 3D printer over the last week or so, and it seemed like my sort of focus for this week was characters. Now first I should go ahead and mention, as I told you guys last week, I do have this glow-in-the-dark filament I've been using a little bit, so I actually went back. One of the suggestions from the comments of the last video was to go back and reprint the Green Lantern ring. And I'll try to get some footage in a dark room showing you what this looks like in the dark, but this thing is extremely cool in the dark. I actually printed this a couple of different times, once my size so it fits here on my middle finger quite nicely, and then once again at the 1.0 size so it fits on my son's finger. He thought that was just the coolest thing, because now he's got the little green ring and now he's got the glow-in-the-dark green ring, so actually, this would be potentially an even better option to have for a Halloween costume edition. And as I was saying, most of the rest of the stuff that I printed in the last week or so has been character related. So going back to a much older video, somebody asked if I could print out the Linux Tux Penguin. So while I was experimenting with the ABS plastic over the last couple of weeks, I actually took some time and I printed this out. It took a few hours to print out, and as you can kind of see, anywhere that it's rounded, it's got a bit of a line to it, so my printer definitely has some issues with backlash that I'm gonna have to try to figure out. I just haven't yet. But I thought it was kind of nice, and I did it with a medium fill, so it does have a little bit of heft to it, but it's still not terribly heavy. So it'll sit on a shelf nicely, but it's not going to weigh a shelf down or anything. One that I thought was extremely appropriate given the shirt that I'm wearing. This is the one I got in the Geek Fuel box this month. If you'd like to see me open this box, I'll have a link to where you can find it down in the video description, and I may put a card in this video if you want to click that. But to go along with this shirt, I printed out a Weeping Angel. This was printed out in the silver Hatchbox PLA that I've been using quite a while now, and I just absolutely love the level of detail that I was able to get in it. You can see the individual little fingers that are defined, you can see the features on the face, the little characteristics of the wings and everything, and it is quite solid. And yes, it took quite a few hours to print, but still, it looks very, very nice, and it makes a nice little piece to have on the shelf. It could probably stand a little bit of cleanup work, but realistically, it looks very, very nice. And another character-related thing, and I have seen this one before, I printed out the skull from the T-800 from Terminator 2. The particular one that I picked out actually has a little base to set it on, and it says T-800 on it. Now, all the little fine details on this one didn't work out quite right because all the supports were not entirely right, but I thought it still turned out pretty well. And again, it took several hours to print out because it does have a lot to it. And I think this one's actually hollow, so it didn't take quite as long as it could have taken. And it is still quite hefty. So it's about as hefty as the little penguin, maybe a little bit more so, but not quite as hefty as it might have been if I had done it higher fill rate or anything. But still a very cool little object to have on a shelf. And the last thing that I thought I would mention, the last thing that I thought I'd print out actually, is another thing that one of you guys suggested when I asked about doing 3D printing using the glow-in-the-dark filament, and that is Baymax from the Disney movie Big Hero 6. My son was a huge fan of this movie, I'm a huge fan of this movie, and this is just an idyllic character that's very easy to recognize from his silhouette. There's not a whole lot of fine detail to him, but there's definitely a lot of detail in the fingers, and there's this little badge that sticks out on his chest, and you can almost make out the eyes, not quite. The ones that I've seen printed out over on Thingiverse, I think people actually markered in the eyes to make it look better, may do that. But still, this is another one that was done in the glow-in-the-dark filament. Unfortunately, the base didn't turn out quite as well as I would like. There's supposed to be a hollow place in his foot, and then the base has a little peg on it. I couldn't quite get those two to fit together properly, so I ended up breaking that peg off in his foot. So I kind of sanded it down and I super glued it, and it's been fairly sturdy ever since. Again, it sits on a shelf quite nicely, although it is a little bit lopsided, a little bit wonky. And there's one more thing that I've printed, but I'm not gonna show it to you today. I'm gonna show it to you later in the week. There's a review that I'm working on, and I'm gonna kind of incorporate this with that, so I'll leave that one hanging for you. I've seen a lot of other really great suggestions as far as what I can do with the glow-in-the-dark filament, so I'm gonna be working on some of those for next week. But that is gonna be about all from me for today. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. Hope you guys are continuing to enjoy this series. I know several people have commented on how much they really enjoy seeing what you can do with a 3D printer. And for me, it's just fun to be able to take something like this that I'm experimenting with and learning with, and to be able to turn it into something that you guys might be interested in as well. So as I was saying, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for your continued support. Make sure to hit that like button if you like this video, subscribe to receive more videos when they become available, and I will see you again next time.